Because that happens. That's okay. That's okay to change your mind, or that's okay to meet someone.
I want to show you this clip, and then I'll
My favorite
get your
thing, the
response.
clips. Let's watch it.
Yes, let's watch.
It's hard to be accountable for things that you're saying in a passionate moment.
Meri's rewriting history like crazy.
I think it's an easy way to blow off the fact that he doesn't want to admit.
You won't believe the tea we're spilling today. From secret breakups to shocking lies, this is Unreal Tea. Hit subscribe before the drama starts. Welcome everyone. The buzz that changed everything, the buzz of an ordinary Flagstaff morning, was disrupted not by screams, not by slammed doors, but by something much less audible, the buzz of a phone on a kitchen counter. Cody Brown's phone. Insiders claim this wasn't just any text message. This was the notice that could ruin years of delicate financial acrobatics, endanger the fragile peace among ex-wives, and push Kody into a corner he hadn't anticipated. The words themselves were not even in bold type. They were not yelled across the page in all capital letters. But those two words, balance due, carried the kind of weight that brings a man up short. For a moment, the din of life around him stilled, replaced by the cold, unmistakable reminder that money remembers. And according to sources close to the situation, the message wasn't about new money. No. It was about old debts, contract fine print, season 19 updates, the kind of TV backpay that can pull secrets from the past into the light. But here's the kicker: the funds, if redirected, weren't lining Kody's pocket. They were allegedly being rerouted to 3 women who no longer lived under his roof. Women whose independence he thought came with distance. Women who, rumor has it, are now getting the better of him in ways that go far beyond dollars. And when Meri Brown, the wife who endured years of simmering tension only to walk away with her dignity intact, heard about the uproar that rocked Kody's kitchen, she didn't scream. She didn't struggle. She didn't even flinch. She laughed. And then, with a calm so sharp it cut through the chaos, she allegedly uttered the 2 words fans can't stop quoting, balance due. That is not a statement. That is a verdict. And it left one burning question resonating through the fandom: if the ex-wives are due, who pays the price? The email that shook Flagstaff, it was not accompanied by sirens. No storm clouds gathered. There was no knock on the door or surprise camera crew ambush. It came quietly. A vibration on the counter. A buzz Cody Brown almost ignored. But when he picked up the phone, that's when it began. The subject line wasn't sensationalized but was enough to halt the air in his kitchen: season 19 adjustments, balance due. Insiders described the moment as surreal. Kody's face drained of color. His shoulders stiffened, his voice halted midstream. He didn't say a word, he didn't need to. Robyn, watching from across the room, presumably knew it wasn't good and was the kind of bad news that doesn't come in screams, but numbers. This wasn't about new opportunities or additional pay. No. According to rumor, the email clarified discrepancies from past seasons of filming, money that hadn't been split correctly, contracts that had fine print most of the family hadn't bothered to read. In short, the network was in arrears. But this is the part where it gets interesting: it wasn't owed to Kody. Not all of it, at least. The numbers instead were adding up to the ex-wives. Christine, Janelle, even Meri. Women Kody had thought had moved on, cut their losses, and no longer had any financial interest in him. But here, in black and white, the letters spelled out a reality he never saw coming: they were due. The contracts were still active. Insiders say Robyn's first words were whispered, barely audible: "What does that mean?" But Kody didn't answer. He couldn't. His eyes were locked on the words that would haunt him for weeks to come: balance due. The irony was bitter. For years, the women had spoken of imbalance: emotional, relational, financial. Now, on the cold, digital page of an email, the imbalance was being calculated. Not in sentiment, but in dollars. Then the second strike: whispers indicate Meri Brown got wind of the affair almost immediately. Perhaps it was via her own email, perhaps via her diligent record-keeping. Perhaps somebody within the production discreetly informed her. Regardless of the source, Meri's response was different from Kody's. No hysteria. No denial. A half-smile of knowing, a shake of the head, and a sentence that now ricochets through fandom areas like a courtroom drama slogan: balance due. 2 words that were not just fiscal. 2 words that spoke volumes about years of quiet, waiting, and meticulously documented receipts. For Meri, this was not chaos. This was vindication. For Kody, it was the beginning of a tempest. For when the money starts flowing, so does the power. And in Flagstaff, nothing is more sensitive than the illusion of control. Meri's receipts, while Kody's panic was wild and untamed, Meri's response was its antonym. Cold. Calculating. Almost clinical. This is where the casual fans misunderstand her. They remember the soft voice, the years on the bench, the endless, solitary moments when her marriage was less than shadow. But what people always forget is this: Meri Brown always held receipts. Literal ones. Figurative ones. And, rumor has it, contractual ones. When the whispers of Backpay began, Meri did not need to search drawers or dig through boxes of ancient paperwork, the whispers say. She already had the trail. Organized. Documented. Timestamped. Insiders say she kept a private file box tucked away in her Flagstaff home, one that was filled with years of letters, contracts, and email chains that the rest of the family disregarded. When other people rolled their eyes at legalese and fine print, Meri read it. She highlighted. She filed. She remembered. So when the words balance due reared their head, Meri did not bat an eye, because she knew already that it was coming. One insider had the following to say: Meri's been playing chess while all the other people were playing checkers. She's always known there would be a reckoning. And what reckoning? It arrived in the form of cold calculations. The network's Backpay calculations reportedly added up to almost exactly with Meri's own records. Season by season. Episode by episode. Even the occasional off-season promotional appearances. It was all there. And when Meri saw the numbers line up, she didn't phone Kody. She didn't even phone Janelle or Christine. She sent a single email, reportedly. Short. To the point. No unnecessary words. Just 3 sentences: received. Verified. Balance due. For years, Kody had ignored her subtle presence. For years, Robyn had had his undivided attention, leaving Meri in the shadows. But here, in the stark accuracy of mathematics, Meri wasn't obscured. She was undeniable. And that's where the sting burned the most. Because if the ex-wives were owed, and if the Backpay translated into a reallocation of monies, then Robyn's family wasn't just facing an inconvenience. They were staring down the barrel of a financial earthquake. And Meri? She wasn't shaking. She was serene. For the first time in years, the balance of power was tipping, not in a therapist's office, not in a courtroom, not on a reunion stage, but in email chains and spreadsheets. Meri had what Kody feared most: proof. And proof doesn't scream. Proof doesn't cry. Proof just sits there. Waiting. Robyn's family on the brink. While Meri crept quietly, Robyn's life louder shook with every ticking hour. Denial came first. Robyn tried to rationalize the email, say those close to the family. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe they'll fix it. Maybe Kody read it wrong. But in her heart, she knew better. For years, Robyn and Kody had lived in the knowledge that the show's core belonged to them, their story, their drama, their house. They held the cameras, they held the conflict, they held the so-called family brand. But if the Backpay existed, and if Christine, Janelle, and Meri were all entitled to their share, then suddenly the power shifted. That meant the money Robyn and Kody had counted on, money invested in their Flagstaff home, money stretched thin through expenses, money that wasn't exactly flowing, could start to slip through their fingers. And insiders whisper that Robyn didn't handle the possibility. Well, some describe tense nights at the Brown home, with hushed fights building into screams. Kody pacing back and forth in the living room, his hands clenched on the back of a chair so tightly his knuckles were white. Robyn sat on the edge of the couch, tears in her eyes, repeating over and over, "This can't be right. They can't just take from us." But the bitter irony? The money wasn't being taken. It was being reclaimed. Christine, Janelle, and Meri weren't doing anyone any favors. They did not seek sympathy. They were on legal, documented turf Robyn and Kody could not bulldoze with sentiment. More heartbreaking still? Sources say Robyn started to understand the optics. If season 19 aired under a cloud of financial scandal, fans would not be in the couple's corner. They would not rally to defend Robyn's tears or Kody's burden. No, the fans would applaud the women finally receiving their due. That realization allegedly devastated her. Because for Robyn, it wasn't simply a matter of losing money. It was a matter of losing the narrative. Without the control of the purse strings, without being front and center, what was left for her and Kody? The family that had been Kody's only true marriage was now sitting on a cliff, looking out at a storm that was ready to sweep away everything they thought was secured. And for the first time in years, rumor has it Robyn began to worry about something she'd never before worried about: being irrelevant. Because what's the use of the spotlight if someone else finally has the stage? Christine and Janelle's quiet victory elsewhere, while Robyn and Kody were crumbling in their Flagstaff fortress, Christine and Janelle on the other side of town were moving forward with a completely different energy. Not panicked. Not loud. But resolute. Focused. Almost victorious, even though the war had not yet begun. Christine, who had worked so long to find her independence and rebuild her life after the split, greeted the news with a feeling of near relief, by all accounts. She'd built a new life with David, gained freedom from the suffocating grip of polygamy, and yet, there was always the nagging ache of injustice. Debts unpaid. Sacrifices that were never acknowledged. Time that was swallowed by the machine of Kody's favoritism. Now? The email whispered something Christine had long prayed for: justice. One insider claims Christine told a friend, "It's not even about the money anymore. It's about recognition. They never thought we'd stand on our own, but now the proof says otherwise." Janelle, ever the pragmatist, took it differently. It was stability for her. Raising children, paying bills, cutting corners to make ends meet while Kody and Robyn lived in their mansion, it had taken its toll. She allegedly opened her printout of the email, read through the numbers, and mouthed a single word silently to herself: finally. To Janelle, it wasn't vindication. It was survival. But then things became more intriguing, as Christine and Janelle partied in secret, but did not rush to the public. They did not post enigmatic Instagram quotes. They did not drop enigmatic lines during interviews. They waited. Patiently. Strategically. Because both women understood something Kody and Robyn had not yet realized. When the Backpay came under examination, the public would not merely rally around them. But the public would demand it. And Christine and Janelle didn't need to scream. They didn't need to fight. They simply had to hold the line and let the truth do the talking. Meanwhile, insiders claim Christine sent Meri a short message. A rare moment of unity between women who hadn't always been close. It read only 2 words: "We're ready." And that was it. No exclamation marks. No dramatic phrasing. Just quiet certainty. Because unlike Robyn and Kody, Christine and Janelle were not clawing for existence. They were willing to take back the contract bombshell. The contracts that bound the Brown family to TLC all these years were a secret. The fans conjectured. Lawyers debated. The wives exchanged gossip with one another, but no one actually knew the fullness of what they signed. Not anymore. When it was found that the emails notifying the Browns of their back pay, however, included something much more ominous: an addendum. Hidden within the legal paperwork buried deep was a clause, one not many had ever heard of. A clause which, rumor went from insiders who had knowledge of the papers, defined a duty the Browns had conveniently forgotten. The so-called clause stated, both spouses would receive equal compensation per season, regardless of the marriage state or current standing with Cody Brown. In English? It didn't matter if she divorced him. It didn't matter if she quit. It didn't matter if Meri waited years alone while Robyn got to play the only wife. As long as their names had appeared in the credits, as long as their faces had overwhelmed the episodes, the money was theirs. Retroactively. And that was the news that blew everything up. For Kody, this was a nightmare. He had ardently insisted that Robyn was his true partner, his only legal wife. He had built a narrative in which the others were, in his words, disloyal, selfish, or quitters. But the contract cared. Not for loyalty. The contract cared not for heartbreak. The contract only cared about names, faces, and signatures. And those signatures were binding. Sources close to production have come forward saying that when Kody first set eyes on the addendum in highlight, he lost it. Papers slammed onto the table. His voice broke as he stormed, "This is not fair. They left me, they don't deserve it." But it wasn't fair. It was legal. And by law, the women were owed every penny. Robyn's discovery was worse, even. Not only was the addendum promising payments to the ex-wives, but it held with it a meaning far worse: recoupment. In case the network determined overpayments had been made, in case Robyn and Kody had received money they owed in shares, the company could claw it back. Which meant Robyn's carefully built family, the home she felt safe in, could be open to audits, repayments, even liens. It was financial quicksand, and the more they fought, the more they sunk in. Meanwhile, Christine, Janelle, and Meri had said nothing. They didn't taunt. They didn't shout. Because they didn't have to. The contract was doing the work now. And its words were screaming out louder than any admission. Kody's breaking point, if there was anything that Cody Brown consistently did well, it was control. Control of the narrative. Control of the house. Control of the money. But after the contract bombshell, something inside of him broke. Those who were close to him say the change was palpable. Once condescending and cocky, Kody became erratic. His temper boiled at odd moments. His paranoia escalated. He began to pace back and forth around the house at night, muttering under his breath about betrayal and conspiracy. He allegedly yelled at small questions from Robyn. A missing receipt. An overdue bill. Even the kids could tell the tension was there, quiet voices in the hallways, doors slammed with extra speed. For Kody, the terror was not merely financial. It was metaphysical. Because if Christine, Janelle, and Meri were vindicated, if the public came out in support of them, if the cash did come their way, then what was he? A patriarch who had failed. A jettisoned husband. The villain in his own film. And Kody could not stand that image. Insiders claim he began calling TLC sources, demanding one-on-one time, insisting producers fix the situation. That they reinterpret history, restage the scenes, make him the victim. But the silence of the network was deafening. For the first time in his reality TV career, Kody was not the one pulling the strings. The show did not require him as much as he hoped. The wives, their heartache, their triumph, their rebuilding, that was what the story was about. He was no longer the hero. He was the roadblock. Robyn, on the other hand, fought hard to keep him down to earth. But even she started to break as the tantrums escalated. One source describes a spine-chilling incident, Kody slapping his hand on the kitchen counter, veins bulging, his voice cracking while he screamed, "They're trying to erase me." But the truth? No one was erasing him. He was erasing himself. Because each furious word, each paranoid slander, each frantic attempt to reinterpret reality only made the women's unyielding fortitude more desirable. The world wasn't observing Kody fight for justice. The world was observing Kody unravel. And the more he unraveled, the stronger everyone else seemed. Robyn's last stand, Robyn Brown, had been the careful one for decades. The soft-spoken voice. The victim of jealousy within the family. The woman Kody had always defended. But when the contract scandal broke, something shifted. She wasn't Kody's favorite wife anymore. She was his single wife. His legal tie. His last defense. And to her, that meant the responsibility was squarely on her shoulders. It went, according to rumor, like this. Robyn began writing a script of her own, late-night calls to producers, emails written with painstaking care that made herself and Kody the true survivors of the family saga. She allegedly shopped the idea around for a spin-off, Kody and Robyn, building back stronger. But the network didn't bite. Not this time. Because even as Robyn fought to salvage the empire, the people had already jumped ship. They weren't starved for another shot of Kody's tantrums or Robyn's tears. They were rooting for Christine's laughter, Janelle's determination, Meri's independence. Robyn, sensing momentum was turning, realized one final desperate attempt. According to sources, she began secretly reaching out to Christine and Janelle with peace messages in the form of an offer for a reunion show, a scripted sit-down, even a truce that could set them all up for riches. But the responses, if any, were abrupt. Christine, supposedly, did not even reply. Janelle made it a short, abrupt reply, not interested. And Meri? She forwarded Robyn's message to Christine in one emoji. The cold rejection left Robyn shaken. Because for the first time that she was a part of the family, her tears did not provoke a reaction. Not from the women. Not the producers. Not even the fans. One insider creates a chilling portrait, Robyn at the bottom of her bed, phone in fist, scrolling through tweets once that had rushed to her defense but now cut deep, calling her greedy. Calculating the destruction of the family. She wept. Kody fumed. But the machine they'd built no longer listened. Robyn's ultimate stand was not triumphant. It wasn't redemptive. It was a whisper on the wind. And for the first time ever, nobody counted. Meri's reckoning. Meri Brown had spent years honing one skill, patience. While the world observed as the world went crazy around her, she built an impenetrable wall of order. Every receipt stashed. Every shoot day documented. Every email saved. Every contract saved with care. She did not need to scream. She did not need to beg. She just needed proof. And now, that proof was her weapon. Sources chatter that when season 19 Backpay recalculations arrived, Meri didn't go crazy. She didn't call Kody. She didn't post cryptic threats on the internet. She just dug out her meticulously gathered files and lined up each number, line by line, day by day, scene by scene. Math doesn't lie, she allegedly sighed to herself. Her calm was more than aplomb. It was fortitude. As news of the redetermination circulated, insiders report Meri launched her first behind-the-scenes moves. A couple of calculated telephone calls to the production office, asserting her rights. No theatrics. No emotion. Just fact. Meanwhile, Kody's despair resounded with growing urgency. Each passing day Meri stood firm, his universe unraveled further. What he hadn't anticipated was that Meri's freedom was not just financial. It was also psychological. Christine and Janelle were reported to be observing from the sidelines, remarking on Meri's attention to detail and silently enjoying her accuracy. Legend has it the three ex-wives became a silent alliance, one sustaining the other's arguments with precision and calm. Meri's vindication was not immediate or tabloid-ready. There were no screams, no cameras recording her in the midst of victory. Instead, it was a series of calculated, subtle steps, emails double-checked, contracts double-checked. A silent tally of hours worked and film used. A patient wait for the network to realize the inevitable, she was owed. It was only a matter of time, insiders say, before the numbers were hers. And when they were, she did not rub it in. She did not taunt and brag. She just realigned her finances quietly, smiled to herself, and continued living her life her way. And the ripple effect? There was no denying it. Kody's household, already disturbed, now had to contend with the reality that the ex-wives weren't just taking money back, they were taking autonomy. The confidence Meri displayed was a manifestation of power for Christine and Janelle. Kody had so focused on controlling the narrative, controlling Robyn, controlling angles, that he overlooked one fact: numbers, not emotions, cannot be argued. Meri's revenge was proof of that. She did not have to fight. She did not have to react. She simply waited on the system, and her own meticulous planning, to serve out justice. And in the end, it did. The news was absolute, cool accuracy beats chaos every time. The reunion tension, the reunion setting was subdued calm. The lighting was dim, the seating semicircle, the camera at an angle for best coverage. But sources say the mood was tense. Kody entered first, stance tight, eyes scanning for dangers he couldn't yet recognize. Beside him, Robyn attempted her practiced aplomb, but even she is reported to have felt the tension beneath. Directly across from them, the ex-wives Meri, Christine, and Janelle took their seats. Their faces were serene, almost relaxed, but their onlookers know the truth. Each head toss, each guarded glance, each nod was calculated. The subject on everybody's lips, though never openly discussed, was the season 19 Backpay redo. Implicitly, insiders reveal that producers attempted to circumvent the money question, posing bland questions regarding family relationships. But when cameras began rolling, tension does not lie. Meri's eyes flashed to Kody for a moment, the flicker of a sly smile hanging above her lips. Christine's lean was effortless, but her fingers drummed softly on the armrest, sign of mental arithmetic. Being quietly calculated. Janelle leaned forward, ever so slightly, purposeful but understated, communicating she was watching, weighing, and ready. Kody, whispering, attempted a deflection. Questions about family priorities and lessons learned were a diversion, but allegedly the ex-wives weren't fooled. Their silence was golden, the eye of the hurricane before the storm erupted loose. Robyn tried to make up with words, reminding fans of her and Kody's sacrifices, but words bounced back off an invisible wall of cold examination. The ex-wives weren't cooperating, and insiders claim Robyn felt the shift immediately. Gossip behind the scenes suggests the reunion turned into a game of small interactions. A glance that flew between Meri and Christine said everything. Janelle's cautious laughter broke bridges where Kody seemed to overstep. Kody's irritation built, each forced smile hiding rage he couldn't help or conceal. The most telling moment, sources say, was when the producers inquired about personal development. Meri's response was simple: I did my part. One sentence, dropped softly, but laden. It echoed her earlier balance-due comment, a low-key assertion of doing her own thing and remaining independent. No explication was required. Kody's jaw hardened. Robyn's eyes darted nervously. Christine and Janelle exchanged knowing smiles. The camera may not have seen everything, but the people in the room seemed to feel it. Control eluded Kody's grasp. The ex-wives weren't looking for attention. They were taking it in quiet, unarguable authority. The reunion ended with gracious smiles and superficial goodbyes, but insiders close to the situation ensure the unspoken message had echoed far beyond the page. The power dynamics had changed irreversibly. Money, control, and power were no longer entirely in Kody's domain. Meri's consistent precision, Christine's calculated patience, and Janelle's reality check pragmatism had created a silent power front, one that would resonate through each following season and contract negotiation. And as reunion cameras stopped rolling, insiders report, the real tension was left behind closed doors, in boardrooms and spreadsheets, where the real Backpay drama was being tidily written. Aftermath and shifting power. When reunion cameras stopped rolling, things did not return to normal, not for Kody, not for Robyn, and certainly not for the ex-wives. According to insiders, Kody's family got the first serious shake on the day. Following the taping, all budget, every expenditure planned, every assumed margin was suddenly in jeopardy. Backpay refiguring for season 19 wasn't just numbers on a grid, it was the reminder that past constructs no longer guaranteed dominance. Meanwhile, Meri, Christine, and Janelle allegedly moved along with a subdued, calculated rhythm. They weren't issuing public statements or handing out ultimatums. Instead, each step was deliberate. Meri kept scrupulous records, checking payments and double-checking reconciliations. Christine weighed her new existence with attention to any contractual conditions, ensuring she received exactly what she was owed. Janelle continued her evidence-based approach, double-checking all filming contributions against the network's tallies. Social media, sources suggest, was also a war zone. Not for melodrama, but for subtle messaging. Meri posted peaceful brunch photos with friends. The caption? Not monetary, but tone was calm authority. Christine shared sun-drenched backyard photos with her husband, her demeanor warm but resolute, implying that life continues, but not a single thing is forgotten. Janelle propagated a home renovation scheme and budget tips, solidifying her reputation for frugality and planning. Fans, always starved for clues, recognized these as sneaky victory laps. Kody and Robyn's silence on the internet only generated buzz. Insiders say Robyn preferred discretion, but lack of reassurance fueled rumors of behind-the-scenes tension. The actual adjustment, sources say, was internal. Kody reportedly was squeezed by both sides. Financial, the amended payments meant less room to maneuver in his and Robyn's family budget. Once budgeted expenses now needed to be adjusted. Control, the cool, methodical presence of the ex-wives upheld a shift in influence. Money and power no longer swirled toward his control. Insiders. Note the ripple effect spread outside of the books. Negotiations, appearances, and contract terms to come would now be greeted with the knowledge that attention to detail and documentation eliminated charm and pecking order. The ex-wives had established a new standard: openness, patience, and quiet confidence. While the commentators and fans dissected each second, Reddit communities predicted exact payouts. YouTube deconstructions dissected glances and hidden winks in the reunion. Even the smallest Instagram stories were read as encoded messages. The deliberately calculated serenity of the ex-wives had hijacked the audience, amplified their influence, without ever uttering a single direct remark. And Kody? Sources say he caught the worst of it. The intersection of limited budgets, contractual clout, and public sentiment hardened into one fact: the game was altered. Season 19 Backpay was not an arithmetic issue, it was a lesson in power, assessed in finesse and temporal terms, rather than in quantity or flair. By the end of this aftermath, insiders indicate, the family power structure had subtly reversed. Kody could no longer assume that mastery of the cameras, calendars, or even the family finances necessarily translated to mastery of the narrative. Meri, Christine, and Janelle weren't claiming domination. They weren't craving theatrics. They were demonstrating that precision planning, unyielding patience, and sneaky action could reorder the entire family's emotional and financial command structure. And in this new reality, the message was clear: gentle precision beats chaos. This family's drama is far from over, so smash like if you're #TeamWives, subscribe for the next explosive update, and drop a comment below. Who do you think will win? Stay shady, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next scandal. Kiss mark. Behind TLC Sister Wives out.